What's going on, Legionnaires, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. If you guys are new to the channel, do me a favor and hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, and make sure you're not missing any of the awesome content we have coming out. Now, I know some of you have been anticipating this video for quite some time now, and in this video, we're going to be covering RWBY and Justice League, the crossover event, issues 5 through 8. Now, if you didn't catch issues 1 through 4, go ahead and check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It'll get you completely caught up on everything going on in this awesome crossover event. Now, as we jump into issue number 5, RWBY and Bruce head to the Faunus Corner to investigate reports of a red and gold blur. This is written by Marjorie Bennett. Pencils are by Emanuela Lupacchino, and inks are by Wade Von Grog Badger. And with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright guys, so as we jump into issue number 5, we have RWBY and Bruce. They're making their way through the Faunus Corner. They're looking for a speedster Faunus, because right now, somebody is hunting down anybody with an extremely powerful semblance. And as they make their way through the Faunus Corner, they see wanted posters and they have bolts of lightning on them. So they can only assume up to this point that they're in the right area, they're in the right location, and this speedster should be around here somewhere. And as they start to look around, they think, there's individuals that could possibly be the one they're looking for, such as a Falcon Faunus and a Cheetah Faunus. But as they continue to scan the crowds, this is when they see a Fox Faunus. A Fox Faunus in red and gold. And before they can even say any words, we see our Fox Faunus literally take off and RWBY go chasing after her. And as they're running through the corner, RWBY is trying to let her know that she just wants to talk. She just wants to have a conversation. And this is where RWBY, she uses her ability and she speeds up in front of our Fox Faunus, cutting her off from the path that she was going to go. But this is when we see our Fox Faunus get low to the ground and then jump up onto the rooftops. And RWBY, she doesn't waste any time. She is in hot pursuit behind her, but she can't move on a dime like the Fox Faunus can. And this is where we see RWBY, and we see RWBY unable to control herself in this turn. And that what shoots her off of the building. Now, she uses her scythe to try to grab herself, to try to grab onto the roof and stop her from falling off. But it doesn't work. It cuts right through the roof. And this is when we see a red and gold blur appear, coming in, swooping in to save the day, save RWBY from falling. And this is when our speedster appears to us, a turtle Faunus by the name of Barry Allen, or what the locals call him, the Flash. Now at this point, Jesse Quick, aka our Fox Faunus, has caught up with them and Bruce Wayne as well. And this is where Barry Allen explains the whole situation to us. He lets us know that Jesse Quick, she's kind of a decoy, if you will. And he uses her to vet people because humans have come looking for Faunuses. And so they hear talk of a big speedster, they immediately want to find out. They want to investigate who this individual is. But when they arrive, they find Jesse Quick. They see a Fox Faunus. They see someone that is fast, but they're not ridiculously overpowered. They go along their way. And this keeps Barry Allen safe. And then Barry starts to recognize everybody. He recognizes Bruce Wayne. He recognizes RWBY as a huntress. And RWBY lets him know, we came from Beacon Academy. We're here to try to help you. Professor Ozpin had sent them to try to help them bring them back because somebody is targeting powerful semblances. And Jesse Quick, she lets them know that these individuals that are kidnapping people, she got a glimpse of them and they look like RWBY. They look like hunters. They look like huntsmen. And she continues on saying that there was something wrong with their faces. It seemed like they wore some kind of mask on their face. And the color in their eyes, something about them just was not right. And so RWBY lets them know that they need to get back to Beacon Academy. And Barry Allen tells her that it's just too late. We don't want to take the risk of being kidnapped or having anybody go missing because Jesse saw these individuals. And when they describe it, it sounds a lot like Pyrrha and Jean. And so they kind of go bunk down for the night. And that's what brings us to the house of Nora Allen, Barry Allen's mother. Now, Barry Allen's mother, Nora, She's extremely welcoming to everybody here. Just let them know we're gonna have food, you can sit down, you can relax. And Barry lets us know that Nora kind of rigged up a system. All of them rigged up a system to where they could not only get free channels and TV and things of that nature, but they also rigged it to where they could have a surveillance system which picks up most of the Faunus Quarter. It's just their way of being able to detect danger before it actually arrives. And as they turn this on, they start scanning through the channels, and this is when they see Pyrrha and Jean, and their eyes are glowing green. Something is wrong with them. And then they turn and face the camera, and then the feed is cut. Now Ruby, she's worried. She's terrified at this point, and she lets Barry Allen know, I know that you don't trust us much, but there is something going on. There is something wrong with a lot of people right now that's affecting animals, it's affecting the Grimm, and it's affecting humans. We all need to work together to be able to discover what is happening here. Because if we don't, pretty soon they're going to control everything. And that will be the end of issue number 5, which brings us into issue number 6. And issue number 6 it's the same writer, same inks, same penciler. Now issue number 6, it brings us to the Schnee Dust Company, the headquarters in Val. And this is where we see Weiss and Wonder Woman. Now they've come here for the same reasons that Ruby and Bruce had gone to the Faunus Quarter. They're here to investigate somebody with a semblance that's supposed to be ridiculously strong. Now in the previous issues, it didn't really go too much into the details of Wonder Woman, but we learn here that Wonder Woman, she's an automation. She's kind of like Penny. She was created. She was created for what's about to come. At least that's what she's told. Her creators prophesied an impending doom, if you will. And so they created Wonder Woman in the hopes of being able to deter this darkness. And so we see Wonder Woman and Weiss make their way inside the facility. Inside the facility, this is when they run into Victor Stone, aka Cyborg. And Wonder Woman, Weiss, they're both shocked. He's supposed to be kidnapped right now. They're supposed to be doing a rescue mission. They're supposed to be helping him. And they come in here to only find him have broken into the facility, and he's literally missing parts right now. Now this is where we see Diana. She goes up to him and she's like, oh, like you're definitely something unique. Like, are you human? Are you a Faunus? Or are you like me? Are you an automation? And this is where Cyborg, he kind of cuts her off and lets her know that, he understands why she's doing this little spectacle to try to relate to him, but at the end of the day, he is both human and machine, what is referred to as a cyborg. He is dependent on the technology to stay alive. And this is when Weiss, she asks, what brought you here? Why are you here to begin with? By all accounts, even Professor Ozpin believed you to be kidnapped because people are targeting individuals that have special semblances. But before they can finish their conversation, this is when the alarm goes off. And Diana, she calls Weiss by her name. And this kind of triggers Cyborg. He's like, you're Weiss Schnee. You're the daughter of the Schnee Dust Dynasty. Your father is the one who sent the assassins to cover up what the Dust conglomerates did to me. Now, they don't really know what he's talking about. They have no clue exactly what's going on right now. And Diana tells him, she's like, I gotta warn you, if you want to get physical, like, we can do this. I know exactly how to battle this. We can fight if you want. And that's exactly what we see. We see a fight break out between them, and Wonder Woman use her lasso, wrapping it around him. And with the lasso wrapped around his arm, this is where he shows off his semblance. His semblance being technology. And we see an electrical charge shot through the lasso and a blast going off, shooting them both off in opposite directions. And this is where Weiss kind of cuts it all off. And she's like, listen, I feel like we got off on the wrong foot here. Before we all get incinerated by whatever death machines are hidden inside these walls. How about we learn each other's backstories real quick and we can figure out exactly what to do moving forward. And this is when Victor Stone, he tells us about the time before he was Cyborg. because before he was an astronaut. There was a secret program out of Atlas. Test after test was successful. The ship that they built was an absolute marvel. And Victor Stone, he was the strongest. He was the fastest, he was the fittest, smartest, the best candidate for this job. The best the kingdom had to offer. He was at the peak of his life in every aspect. But the launch tests, the tests lied. He revealed all to Remnant something that they had never knew before. That dust, it does not work in space. Now, he doesn't remember how he survived. What he does remember is a green blur. A blur kind of like the Flash. Now, the investors, they were ashamed. They denied all involvement in this, and a rogue pair of assassins were sent to kind of kill him, to take his life and make sure that his silence stayed that way. But they still don't understand why he walked into a Schnee facility, and he goes on to explain that he needed their technology because it's the only place that houses the prototype, the experimental technology that he needs to be able to repair himself. And this is where he opens up his chest and continues to say that the dust batteries, they're burning out too quickly and he needs something to be able to power them. And this is where we see Weiss whip out one of her glyphs. And she uses her glyph to recharge Cyborg. No wires, no cords, no plugs or batteries or tubes, just her semblance. And so the three, they make their escape. And Cyborg, he's finally warming up to them. He's like, maybe we can learn something from one another. For starters, let's find out who these kidnappers are and find out exactly what they want. And Weiss tells him that they seem to be abducting huntsmen from academies. And RWBY has told them that they have taken their friends and that they might not remain human for much longer. And that is where this issue ends. And that is where we dive into issue number 7. Issue number 7, titled The Prince of the Seven Seas. Now this issue brings us to the harbor of Vale, and we have Yang, we have Blake, and we have Clark Kent. Now this area so far has had the highest number of disappearances, and really they're just trying to devise a plan here. A plan on what they're gonna do next, because somebody is eventually gonna show up here to kidnap somebody. And this is where Clark Kent, he lets us know that he's not gonna be that much of a use if a fight does kick off during the nighttime. It lets us know that his powers get severely diminished at night because there's no yellow sun to give him strength or speed or any kind of power. And this is when we see the arrival of Aquaman, the shark faunus. Now Aquaman, he is mad right now because he thinks they're here to kidnap. He thinks that they're here to kidnap some more faunuses. Now immediately Aquaman already knows how to fight these guys. He knows that Yang's abilities are based on taking kinetic energy in and dishing it back out. He also knows that Blake will go to her rescue. And so he commands the seahorses to drag Yang underwater to drown her. And Blake dives in and goes chasing after her. And as they're sitting here in the water, the seahorse, Blake and Yang look around them and they see eyeballs. Green, glowing eyeballs. And the sea monsters, they start attacking her. They start attacking all of them. Now these sea monsters, they have pink starfishes on them. Now this has me thinking, is this a Starro Invasion? Because it's quite possibly what's going on here. And this is where we see Aquaman, we see Clark Kent, Yang and Blake fighting off all of these sea monsters, doing their best to try to hold it all off. And Aquaman, he lets them know that these guys aren't with him. Because ordinary sea creatures, they know better than to attack a shark faunus. Like, that's just something you don't do. And as this little fight comes to a close, as all of them jump back into the ocean, Blake tells Aquaman that he needs to listen. Because she is a faunus too. And we see Arthur be cocky. He keeps calling her princess and stuff like that. And Blake, she says, I'm not a princess. And he tells her, you could be. You could be because I am the heir to an entire kingdom. But this is when Clark chimes in and asks Arthur if he remembers him. And Arthur does. He remembers him from the dust mines. Because Clark, he was being held hostage there. Being forced to work hard labor for the humans. Now Arthur, they weren't able to break him out because he was too weak. Without the sun to help, without his semblance, he was unable to get him out of there. and so Arthur had to leave him behind. And it's not something Aquaman wanted to do because he felt like it wasn't right. They were literally working him like a workhorse against his will. And this is where Clark goes on to tell him, while that situation wasn't right, what also brings us here tonight is not right because somebody is kidnapping people. Huntsmen, students, civilians, anyone with a powerful semblance, everybody that has one is in danger. And he continues on, letting him know, people are going missing. They're going missing from villages far out at sea. And so they head off. And as they head off, Arthur lets us know what his semblance is. His semblance is kind of a low-level telepathy. He can control the sea animals, he can talk to fish, but he can also kind of read minds. And that's how he was able to know Yang and Blake, both of their semblances, and what Blake would do to protect Yang. And he can also kind of sense certain things about people, their emotions, state of animals, the power innate in other people. It's just, a super unique ability. And so the four decide to head off. They decide to go see Professor Ozpin. They figure that is their best chance moving forward from here. And so Arthur, he makes his apologies for trying to drown Yang here. She accepts an apology and then they all go to head out. Now, as they start to walk off, we see an octopus. It falls into the water. And inside of this water, we see a whole bunch of faunuses with green glowing eyes. And that will be the end of this issue. And that will bring us into RWBY Justice League issue number 8, which will be the last issue for this week, but it is not the last issue in this series. Now, issue number 8, it picks us up in Val. And all of our heroes have finally come together. Everybody has gone out and they've found the individuals they were looking for, and everybody starts to do their introductions. Barry Allen introduces himself, Cyborg introduces himself, Aquaman, he's kind of like, oh man, this is a lot of people for me. I'm not sure if I really want to be here. And as they're sitting here doing all of their introductions, they're like, all right, let's get going. We need to go find Professor Ozpin. But behind them, there are shadows. And these shadows are the missing friends, the missing huntsmen, the missing civilians. They are all descending upon them. They are attacking. And this is where we see Pyrrha, Jean, Nora, and Ren. All of them seeming to have some kind of mask on their face. They're all possessed. Now, they don't want to hurt them. They only want to restrain them in this situation. And everybody is doing their best. But Clark Kent, it's nighttime. So his powers, he doesn't really have any. He's just a guy who can punch people right now. He doesn't have any super strength or anything like that. And so everybody is doing this battle. And this is where Bat Faunus Bruce Wayne, he starts deducing what is happening here. One individual, they disappeared near a fountain. Another near the Sea Cove settlement. Humans and faunus alike with wet clothes, wet shoes, and wet hair. And this is where he figures out that they're not disappearing from Val. They're being kidnapped by water. The island of Patch, the coastline of the Faunus Island. Whatever's doing this, it's using the harbors, the sewers, the fountains, and the drain pipes. And this is where we reveal what looks to be a Starro on Pyrrha's face. At the very least, it's a starfish, but I am pretty sure that this is Starro. What other starfish leaps onto people's faces and takes them over? Starro is the only one that I can think about that would do that. Now, it looks like that they're getting outnumbered. There are just so many of them descending upon them, and they realize that they need to make their retreat. But this is when they see a green glow, a green light come flying out of the sky, and it's revealed to be none other than Jessica Cruz, the Green Lantern. And upon her arrival, she says that she's already too late. Now, RWBY thinks to herself, Beacon Academy in the city of Vale, this place is where she belongs. She's known this forever. She just wished everyone could feel the same way she does. She never wanted to be somebody else's belonging. And that's exactly what's happening to her friends right now. And so she vows that she is going to free them. She's going to do whatever it takes to make sure her friends get free. And this is where we see Jessica Cruz. She uses her ring, she points it to the sky, and we see a giant spaceship manifest. A light construct of a ship. and she lets them all know that she's going to get them out of here. But the thing is, they all have to work together. They have to use everything they have to get this thing running, because right now it's only an idea, and they have to make it real. And so Cyborg and Diana, they go on board, trying to get like a systems operation going up, but he needs a medal, and this is where he takes one of Diana's bracelets and uses it. Weiss, she uses her glyphs to reinforce the hull, to make the hull stronger and be able to take hits. And we see Yang, she takes a hit from one of these Grims as Jessica Cruz is putting up a barrier wall with her lantern ring. And with Yang taking that hit from the Grim, she uses that force to power the ship. And we see the engines go online, and everybody is getting on the ship, and this is when we see the sun start to pop out. The sun starts to pop out, and Clark Kent is getting his powers. Superman is becoming strong. Now the ship goes to take off, but something is dragging them down. That something being everything that is possessed. They have grabbed onto the door and they are not letting go. But this is where we see Clark Kent. He leaps outside and we see him fly. And this is where he goes underneath the ship and he lifts it up, pushing it up to the sky. All of them possessed end up letting go and the ship is able to get away. And so for now, at least they are safe. They are safe because of Jessica Cruz. But Jessica Cruz, she goes on to tell us, like Clark, she has a great power, and she is to blame for what has happened to the people on this planet. And this is where she goes to explain exactly what is going on here. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think. This has been a long video. I hope you guys stuck it all the way through. RWBY and the Justice League. I have thoroughly enjoyed this thus far. It has been so much fun. I can't tell you how unique it is. I really didn't expect it to be this way. I really expected them to have a crossover where all of them end up in Remnant, but as themselves, as Superman, not as Faunus's or anything like that. But with the arrival of Jessica Cruz, that's really unique, because she does seem to be from another planet, and it seems like whatever happened has to do with the Starros. That's my only explanation up to this point. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you have not yet, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like this video, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the content we have coming out, and until the next video.